Good evening and welcome to a new edition of Real World News TV. I'm your host, your co-host Reggie Kearney, and with me tonight I have my other co-host Chara Ann, who's typing away.
Mhm.
Want to welcome everybody to a new show on this uh, great Tuesday in America. Um, so, what you think, Chara Ann? What you think?
Oh, what am I thinking? Well, first of all, I got my first shot today, so yay me. I was sitting in the office and the last hour before they read the verdict, I had MSNBC on in the background while I was working, and I'm shaking, I'm breaking a sweat, equal parts the vaccination and just very stressed out, waiting for the shoe to drop, because as we've discussed on so many previous shows, the justice system has habitually let us down. So I was shocked and awed and amazed that he was found guilty on all accounts. Not shocked because the evidence wasn't there, because it clearly was. And the defense had the weakest position imaginable. But I was shocked that there wasn't at least one asshole on that jury to make a hung jury. And it left me speechless. We'd already had a crowd of people gathered on Union Square in various parts in the city. And I work in property management, so we were already talking about, getting additional security for in front of our properties, et cetera, just in case things went south. So it was a very pleasant surprise to not have to worry about another summer of unrest, although the chapter isn't over on that, since, as we discussed before the show started, there's so many other cases right now over the last few weeks of police violence against people of color. So we have to wait and see if this is the start of a new trend in terms of us actually being able to see justice, or if this is a one-off. And then, of course, we have to wait to see we have to wait 8 weeks to see what his sentencing is, and that's going to be frustrating. Good evening, Michael. Hi, Jacqueline.
Well, the thing about it, one of the reasons, they always wait to get victims' impact statements. I'm pretty sure before the judge decides how many years he's going to give them, he's going to want to listen to those impact statements. I think he's going to be up on the high side of the 40. And think about it, he'll only serve about maybe about 70% of it. So that's where I see it's going. But we still have a lot of work to do. Yeah, this was a great victory today, but you still got to remember Aubrey, Delonte, just so many of them. Just so many of them. I mean, just so many of them. It's sad. And it is really, truly sad. And like we were talking earlier, I really don't think the blue wall has fallen today. I think in the red states, the blue wall is up and it's going to stay up for a while. But it's going to make an officer think before he does something stupid, okay? It's going to make him think, is this a good shot or is this a bad shot? Is what I'm doing to restrain this person is the right thing to do or is the wrong thing to do? So it does send a message. It does to a certain extent handicap the officer, okay? And that's a good thing. I mean, that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing to be handicapped because you're going to start thinking. So I know my lady out there in Brooklyn Center, she's probably on pins and needles now because the jury convicted the officer.
Mm-hmm.
Jury, officer, but
what we were talking before the show, I had mentioned this, and you brought up the ball again, and we were all dubious, to say the least, that he would be found guilty of all 3 charges. And I'm happy to see that we were wrong in that instance. Wrong in our expectation, not wrong in our belief that the evidence was sufficient. But clearly the blue wall did not work for him in this instance. And to spark change, any change always starts with one. So I am hoping, as you say, that not only do police officers think a little bit more about their actions, but that they also take this into consideration. And I think what would help with that is what's going to happen with the other 3 officers who stood by. Is there a trial for them? Are there charges for them?
Yeah, that trial doesn't come up until late on in the summer. I think around June or July, probably more like July. That's a very interesting question because one of the officers did say something to him during the whole process, and he, kind of blew him off.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's going to be a tough one.
Because if they're held accountable, that will also further pull some of the strands out of the blue wall.
Yeah. But I see them, if they're found guilty, I see them walking in 2 or 3 years. They're more of accessory to the fact, they didn't have, it was Chauvin's knee on the neck that killed them. Even though they were on him with their knees, I don't know. That's going to be a tough one. I mean,
I don't expect them to get a lot, but there should be something.
Yeah, that's why I said if they get anything, it'd be 2 or 3 years. They won't lose their pension. Well, one doesn't even have a pension, but he only been with the department. I think he was like 30 days on the job.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a tough one. If they try them separately, that could be. If I was the 3 of them, I would say, look, let's all go in together and go down together, because you might get a jury, might convict one, let one go and convict another one. So that's going to be the toughest one. I think that's going to be a tough case, but they were accessories,
Yes and no. I mean, when you first mentioned that one police officer who did attempt to stop Chauvin, get medical attention, that acknowledges that he was aware something was wrong. And so my first thought when you said that was, well, then maybe he'll get a lighter sentence because he tried to do something. But then the next thought was he tried and failed and then stopped. He knew something was wrong, so they might hold him to a higher degree of accountability than the other 2 fellows that were with them.
Yeah, but the thing about it, they were scared of him because he had been on the force for so long. They were learning, they were training. The one who said something to him should have just pushed him off of him, okay? So, I mean, that's going to be a tough one. What I can see happening to those 3 guys now, because of the fact that Chauvin has been convicted, I can see them taking a plea deal. I can see that lawyers going to the attorney, the state's attorneys, and saying, look, okay, what is the least amount of time can my guy get if he pleads guilty?
Mm-hmm.
Because it opens up, here again, now you take a family back through this whole process again, okay? Because you have to you can't retry a portion of the trial. You almost have to bring everything back in again. Not all the witnesses and stuff. You don't have to bring those back in and expert witnesses and stuff. But you still open up that trial again for the family, okay? And a lot of times, charges like that, the state's attorney, they will try to work something out to keep them bringing the family back in and bringing the witnesses back in again to relive it. I mean, I feel sorry for the 17-year-old, well, she's probably 18 now, young lady who did a video who's punishing herself for not doing enough. Now you got to bring her back in, for 3 trials or 1 trial. You got to bring her back into the picture again and get her to go through every process.
Yes, but I have to believe that as painful as this was and is and will always be, that the people who testified did so because they are in pursuit of justice, and justice isn't complete yet. Yeah. There were other people there, and they do bear some of the responsibility because they had more power than anybody else. Those other police officers had more power than she did, more power than the martial artist did, more power than the EMT person who tried to intervene. They were part of the authority on site. So they have some culpability, and they need to be held to some degree of accountability.
I would go, if I was an defense attorney, I'd go for a plea deal.
Well, yeah, that's my arm hurts from the injection.
Yeah.
But, I feel for these guys because on the one hand, They failed in their first outing to be police officers. They failed utterly to protect a civilian. So, do they give up and pursue another line of work because they failed so miserably, or do they use this and take this lesson and become better police officers? You know,
Give
what can
up,
we expect?
give up, because you're taking a chance. Okay, you already got a guilty verdict on Chauvin. Okay, now the chances are increased tremendously that these three will get guilty verdicts too. Okay, so they keep the minimum amount of time down to 1 or 2 years. I mean, it might be if you can get a deal, you can get it because see, look, this is the thing. The defense lawyers, if they have to go through the trial, they're gonna say, look, we didn't. My guy did not kill him. Okay, all right. The only thing my guy has done, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Okay,
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
I'm
If they
telling.
can,
Look,
if they can jail a civilian,
Look, I'm telling you what the defense is going to do.
I
Okay, they're going
understand
to
that,
paint
but
that.
it's so
They,
hypocritical. When
but
you
look,
have
they,
four guys, one guy kills the guy in the grocery store that they're robbing, and the other two guys are outside, they will get as much jail time, if not more. If it happens to your regular Joe, it should happen to them, more so to them because they know better.
It's not going to happen. All they did was, and I hate to say, all they did was pin them down. Okay, could they done more? Yes, they could have done more. Okay, but what I'm saying is the lawyers are gonna like they're gonna throw everything out in the wind they can and hope something sticks to the wall. Okay.
I'm just not buying it. Look, if you've got a woman being raped by several men and 3 men hold her down and 1 man rapes her, they're all guilty. Right? They all participated in the crime. They all let it happen.
I take the bigger victory over the little victories. Okay. Now, like I said, how are you gonna defend? How is the state going to put this? Bring this case up. How are they going to? What are they going to talk about? What are they going to press on to try to get something out of these guys? Okay, that's where the whole problem sets at right now. Okay, because they already said because he was a senior officer out there, they're going along with the program because of the senior officer, and they're scared of losing their jobs. Okay, for going against a senior officer. So where does the prosecutor? What kind of case does the prosecution put together? That's where the whole problem is. Okay. They got small bonds. This show you how serious it is. Their bonds, they were out. One guy was out shopping in the grocery store the next day. And he wished he should have never done. Because old granny walked up on him. And she just read him to ride at.
Mm-hmm.
So they were in, got charged, and they're out, okay? That's why I say in order to win this case, the prosecution has to figure out what's the bullseye for bringing these guys down. That's why I said the prosecution, and they got plenty of time, they might sit down with a defense lawyer, and I know it's going to happen, where they say, look, this is what your guys did, this is what I'm going for. But if you're a bit guilty, they get 2 years for being an accessory. Okay.
They literally just got out of training, right?
Yeah.
So all of those lessons should have been fresh in their mind. The training in Minnesota that says you cannot continue to use force if somebody is no longer a threat, right? So they literally just got out of school. They should be primed and ready with all of the lessons that they learned. They sat back, and that one guy, unfortunately, is going to bear the brunt of it because he tried to stop it and failed and let this happen. I do not agree with washing our hands of their culpability and settling for 1 win. They were all part of it. Now, should they be held to the same degrees of accountability as Derek? No. But I do think that they do need to have some type of accountability. And doing so will help, I think, instill a lesson or a fear in those
Okay.
people who insist on maintaining the blue wall.
Okay. Look, this is what they were charged with. Okay. The three officers were later charged with aiding and abetting unintentional second-degree murder, aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter, charges that carry up to 40 years in prison. Okay. That case comes up in 23 days. I mean, on August the 23rd, and they remain free on $750,000 bail. Okay. So they've got, like I said, it's going to come down to a plea deal. Okay. That's basically what's going to come down to. Because, yes, they were there, they were aiding and abetting. You know, that's already been established. Okay. And it was unintentional on their part. It was unintentional. Okay. So, and then they had another part of bed and second degree manslaughter. I can see them trying to work something out. You know, really.
If they do a plea and they do time, I'm happy with that because
Mm-hmm.
the message is still sent. Can they still be police officers after they've been charged and are in jail? So their careers are over.
Yeah, that career's over. I mean, you be as a police department, you'd be stupid to hire them guys anywhere. Even if, you know, even though they're young and they probably have learned from their lesson, nobody's going to touch them. I mean, them guys, look, they probably not even going to go out and be able to get a regular job.
Well, we have seen plenty of times where a police officer was fired from one municipality for abuse of force and moved on to another one. So I don't really have any faith, if they don't serve jail time, that they won't simply be picked up by another municipality. There are so many out there that have no qualms about hiring somebody with a bad rep. So any amount of jail time I'll be happy with.
You don't touch everything that comes along, okay? Some things you leave alone. That's why the blue wall came down in this particular case, because any police officer that would have got up there and pleaded the fifth, they were supposed to be working with the prosecution, and this guy got off. What you think? You know, them guys ain't want this blood on their hand. This was a real a case that was well prosecuted. It was a case where you just don't want to be no part of. You know, the police chief couldn't go up there and say, "Well, this was, you know, we know that was wrong. They shouldn't have done it." But no, the police chief had to do what had to say what he had to say. He couldn't stand behind this guy.
Of course not. It would have been career suicide.
Yeah, even for the oldest cop that was on the force, who you know came up for the prosecute. I mean, look, hey, dude, you're not worth it. Okay, you going out on this ship, you're gonna sink by yourself, and that's what they did.
But you know, and the sad thing is, this man Chauvin had a history of being violent and excessive with people, and had that been addressed, perhaps they would have stopped him before he actually murdered somebody with intent, because that was intent. I don't buy the whole distracted by the crowd nonsense. He was calm as a cucumber while he was sitting there on that man's neck. So again, I'm very glad that the jury found the way they did. Now I just have to wait to see what happens with the sentencing, because that's where we can get screwed.
Because look, this is okay. Look, check this out. This is what the comments was made after this article I'm reading. The one guy said, "I have no issue with the book being thrown at Chauvin, but I really don't think the other three officers should be charged with anything, frankly. One of them was in training and hadn't even been in the field for more than a few weeks, something like that." Then the response to what he said was that one had only been on duty for 4 days and one another and had been on duty for 3 days. Okay, so they were just really getting started. Okay, both of these officers also asked Chauvin, one of them repeated, to move him to a safer position. Chauvin said no. The other officers were standing there working on crowd control. They should not be charged with anything. There would be a much different angle on this trial because one of the officers is white, one is biracial, and one Asian. It's easy, you know, and it goes on to talk about it. So that's why I said two of them, okay, I thought it was just one of them, but two of them had just really got started. They were out there in the field training. You know, if I was a defense attorney, I'll just be trying to, you know, get them out of there. You know.
if I were the prosecutor, if I were working for the prosecutor, I'd be talking about how they were trained. When did they end their training? The week before, 2 weeks before?
They hadn't ended the training.
Were they trained in that? Were they trained in this?
They hadn't ended their training. You know, Chauvin was supposed to be out there
training. You know what is right, you know what is wrong, and you see a man being murdered on the street.
Yeah.
The
training is continuously, okay? Especially for those guys, because they're still on probation, okay? This is like in corporate America. If you get you a dud in there and you carry them through the process and you're trying to get them to get good and they don't, on day, if it's a 90-day probation period, on day 89, you kick the butt out, okay? You know, so this is, I mean, these guys, you know, didn't know which way they were going, which direction they were going, okay?
Then they shouldn't have graduated and had guns on their hips.
But that's what one of the questions is now. And a politician, one show I was looking at this morning, last night, made the statement that we have to do a better job of hiring police officers. Here in the county where I live at, you can come out of high school at 18 years old and go on to the sheriff's department. Okay, what kind of maturity level do you have at 18 years old? I don't care if you go through all the training, get all A's, graduate perfectly, and are doing a exemplary job, okay? How can you at 18 years old make decisions that aren't going to get you jacked up and get you in trouble and get you in jail, okay?
Please, their brains are still half-baked at 18. It's a teen. So, they're still a teen. No,
you know, I was talking to some more people at the courthouse, and one of the things we agreed on was they need to go after, and I'm not trying to discriminate against anybody who wants to be a police officer or anything. Go after the cream of the crop that comes out, mandatory that you go to college. That doesn't mean you're the smartest thing in the world when you go to college, but at least you get a better footing on thought process, okay? Rationale, okay? You know, and that's the whole thing. We just the guys coming out there, they're looking for jobs, you know, they're gonna hire. It's a shortage of police officers already. Look here in Maryland, because of the police reform bills we passed here in Maryland. You got Baltimore had 73 officers that just turned in retirement. They said, and you know they were white because they didn't want to deal with it. You know, they gone.
All right, Felicia, that's fine. I'm not mad at that.
They're gone. So where do you get qualified people, you know, that are going to take on the responsibility of protecting and serving the public? You know, the pay is low. I mean, I looked at the start there. We're looking for people here in my county now. Starting pay is $46,000 up to $60,000, I guess, with experience. That's not a lot of money.
Yeah, but there are also a lot of Americans that start at that and lower, and they can make money on overtime.
But you don't
get into that for the money unless you're crooked.
Yeah, but you're in a high-pressured job. I mean, being a police officer, you know, talking to someone, that's a pressure cooker. I mean, it's not an easy task. Even if you go through your whole 30 years and you never shoot your gun one time, there are situations that you get thrown into that you really got to think yourself out of it and get beyond those situations. I mean, you know, it's a tough field to be in. You know, it's harder than sitting behind a desk, you know. It's just because you do take an oath to protect and serve, but things go wrong, you know. So, you know, I don't know, but I'm glad the verdict came down. You know, I'm happy for the family, but like I said, we still got quite a few cases out there that we got to, you know, get through.
Yeah, we need to keep our eyes on the prize here. So, what do you think, in light of this, is going to happen with the I forget the name of the police officer and the woman who murdered Dante, who mistook her gun for a taser?
If I heard, I'd be nervous. Now you talking about plea deal? I'll be trying to get myself a plea deal right now, because this is the thing. Her thought process was all jacked up, and as heavy as a Glock is compared to a taser, she had and she had plenty of time to look down at her hand and see what she had in her hand. That should have been enough for her not even shoot, okay? But she did, okay?
Please, the trigger is different, the handle is different, the
Yeah.
length is different, the color is different, the weight is different.
But see, it's going to be hard for her to get a good jury that's going to be partial. Because what the city of Brooklyn Center did, they went in and put fences around her house. Now, really, these folks don't give a you know what about her. They weren't going to go to a home and attack. They might have gone to a home and protested, but they weren't going to go there and drag out there. So I think her optics send the wrong message, okay? Her lawyer should have never allowed that. Okay, the optics already send a bad message already. And I think, you know, it was at the wrong time. I mean, that it was for all this to happen to her in this whole situation with the George Floyd trial going on, she's toast. Okay, she is toast, you know, and she's gonna have a hard time explaining and she's gonna have to get on the jury stand. I mean, on the witness stand. She's gonna have to talk at her trial because if she's gonna get out of this thing, she's got to talk her way into the hearts of the jury to impress upon them on why she felt like this was an accident, and I just don't think it was an accident.
Yeah, I'm hard pressed for that. You know, they gave her all of these accolades about how long she's worked and that she trains. And if you're training other people on that level, the assumption is that you've risen to such a degree of excellence that you are the best person to train the next generation of police officers. And to make that kind of rookie mistake, it just boggles the mind. I saw another video today of a older Black man, a veteran apparently, who was walking his autistic child to school. He tripped and had a seizure and somehow wind up being beaten, punched, and kicked by the police. I was trying to find a newspaper article about this because I'm not sure what state that happened in. And they stopped once they realized that they were being filmed. So I don't know, like, are they giving these people saltpeter? Like, what is going on that they are so fucking aggressive? Pardon my French.
It's all about power. I mean, these guys have it's a power trip they're on. Again, you probably need to give a police officer, and you should probably give them a psychological test at least every 5 years. Okay.
Oh no, 6 months. 6 months. I'm not waiting 5 years.
No, I say every 5 years because a lot of these guys' attitude that they have coming in changes over that time. I mean, a lot of these guys, it's all about power. I mean, you got to realize and go back to where did the police department come from? Where did policing come from?
There were gangs at first.
It came from slavery because they sent these guys out to arrest, to go out and find the slaves that had ran away. Okay, so they already had the power in the guns because if you don't come back with me one way or the other, I'm gonna shoot you, cut off your head, and take it back to the land on the slaveholder and let them know I did get you. Okay, you're not out there no more. Okay, so this process kept on and kept on. You know, no reconstruction, no nothing. It just kept going down through the years. Okay, and now it's a power trip for a lot of them. You know, I was looking at 60 Minutes the other night. And one of the guys, the Oath Keepers, said they have police officers that are part of the Oath Keepers. Okay,
of course they do.
That's where that's where a lot of your problems come in at. Okay, you know, my thing is, okay, you kick an old man while he's down on the ground, then your punishment should be, let me lay you on the ground and kick you and beat the crap out of you for the same amount of time you beat the old man. Then you're gonna feel how he felt. The problem is these guys have been getting away with crap for so long, they feel like they can continue on. Yes, this case is going to make them think. Most of them, okay? You still going to have that percentage out there going to try the system, okay? And like I said, when you look at New York City, with that crazy police union y'all got in New York City, they're going to keep pushing. And even if the cop does something wrong, they're gonna still be that supporter.
Well, I can say in New York City, and I mentioned just 2 shows ago, they did eliminate qualified immunity. So on the state level or upstate New York, they may have to worry about that shit.
Yeah.
But in New York City proper, in the 5 boroughs, that's gone. So
but that still ain't gonna stop them, because y'all got some of the roughest cops in the country in New York City. Okay.
I don't know. I think they're rougher in California.
I think New York,
really do.
Boston, all them good East Coast cops, Philadelphia.
When I lived in California in '91, it was like moving to another country. That was a 100% police state. Every single night, I had helicopter lights in my apartment window, and it was freaky as hell. And when I came back to New York, I remember one night these fellows went into a store to buy a cigar. I think they were, what do I call that? Rolling a Philly is what they call it in New York. A joint of some sort. And an undercover car had been following them to the store. And I was walking up the block so I could see this. When those fellows came out of the store with the cigar, the undercover cops came out of the car and pushed them all against the wall and frisked them. This was during the time of stop and frisk. And I thought, Jesus Christ, now New York is as bad as California. I haven't seen that kind of incident since the 90s, or particularly since they stopped, supposedly stop and frisk. But it's crazy, and something has to change.
I hope that this is the beginning of change, but I just don't feel like it's the beginning of change. I feel like, this stuff is going to keep on. It's going to keep on, because, how many officers are really going to break that blue wall of silence? Really. I mean, you look at Freddie Gray up in Baltimore. If one of the police officers had turned, those officers would have been found guilty.
Was he the one who had his legs broken while he was shoved into a van?
No, they had him in the
They beat him in the alley and then
riding around in the van and stuff. And
well, he already was broken before he got into the van.
Yeah,
you remember the video? He couldn't even stand.
Yeah, but in the van, they were supposed to restrain you, seatbelt you and do everything to keep you from bouncing around. Because this was something they did all the time to people they arrested, ride them around for a while, beat them up, let the van beat them up instead of them beating them up.
Yeah, but he was already beat when they put him in the van.
Well, he couldn't
stand on his own 2 legs.
Yeah, he had got hurt, but the thing is, the van was what really did him in. Okay, riding around in the van, getting thrown around. Okay, he couldn't brace himself. He had handcuffs on. How you gonna brace yourself when you hit a bump or the guy makes a crazy turn at the corner and stuff? It was something that they did all the time. But the blue wall didn't fall, and that's why she couldn't get a conviction, because she couldn't get nobody to turn. If she could have gotten one guy to turn, then they would have found them all guilty, and that's the whole thing you got to keep worrying about.
Look, this case surprised us, right? 2 weeks ago, we were all naysaying and very doubtful that we would get a guilty verdict, let alone on all 3 counts. So I have to hope, since we were wrong about that, or surprised about that, pleasantly so, that we could potentially be wrong about this, and that hopefully this is the mark of the beginning of change, which will likely be painfully slow, but hopefully going in the right direction. We said no to this case, and we turned out to be wrong. So I have to have some hope. I have to. Well, we cannot continue like this.
I just don't see it. I just see too much craziness out of the world. I just see too many police departments, police officers that just say, "Oh well, he got what he deserved because he did do what he did." But
can they make a federal law that supersedes qualified immunity on the state level, so that if qualified immunity protects them on the state level, they can then be tried on a federal level? Maybe we do that. Maybe just work around it.
The only time the federal people gonna get involved is if they feel like the civil rights have been violated. Okay.
Hello.
And that's how, I forgot what case that was. Oh, down in South Carolina, Walter Scott case. The Walter Scott case, the officer was Slayer, whatever his last name was found innocent by the jury, in the state courts. Federal government came in and charged him, violation of civil rights on the federal level, and he went on here and pled guilty, because of some fact, you know, he didn't have an out. Okay.
So let's do more of that.
Yeah.
Let's start using all the tools at our disposal.
Yeah, but the thing about it, you got I think, if I'm not mistaken, the burden of proof is much low. The ceiling is much lower on the federal cases. Okay, when it comes to that, so it's a little easier to do it. But federal government shouldn't have to take on all these cases. It should be the states that do the right thing.
It should be, but they're not. Until they do, we need to do something else about it. And so if that means we have to take out a hammer and start doing that, then I say we do. Look, I mean, they do it to us on the right. On this, they don't get what they want in terms of discriminate against people because of their religious beliefs. They create the Freedom of Religious Act on the federal level, basically making Christianity or Christians, giving them more protections and entitlement than any other religious group in the country, which is bullshit. The Holly Lobby gets to be considered an individual. So it's been done, and you've said it time and time again. Democrats and independents need to stop playing pansy and be a little more heavy-handed. Well, then let's take that chapter out of that book and use it.
But see, the thing about it, when the other guy was in office, he stopped the Justice Department from doing any investigations to follow up on violation of rights. Now, the current AG has gone back and picked up a program that the Obama administration was doing as far as investigating these officers and stuff and things of that nature for violation of civil rights and all that kind of stuff. So they're putting it back in. But see, the thing about it, you go hard for hopefully 8 years with Biden and say that Kamala doesn't get elected president when her time comes, so then you get a crazy Republican back in there who stops everything, okay? And I like what Biden is doing because he's letting AG work on its own. DOJ work on their own, and he's not getting involved in it. So Garland is making all these decisions to bring back all these programs that the other guy threw out. So that's just one of the things. You got to have full support from the president when you allow DOJ to go out and do that thing without no interference. And he told Garland that he wouldn't get involved with DOJ because he's not his personal lawyer. So there's a whole lot of different things. But I think if he had been found innocent, DOJ would have jumped on it tomorrow.
And
he would go to jail one way or the other.
The Voldemort who shall remain unnamed has been unusually quiet these last few weeks.
Who's that?
Trump.
Oh shit! He ain't saying that. He done stealing everybody's money.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. He done there fleecing his supporters.
Well, he got busted for that and had to pay back quite a few million, 2 or 3 million to his supporters. And you would think, I would hope that those people whose accounts he fleeced are no longer supporters.
Look, they didn't read the fine line. He got busted for doing it, but he didn't have to pay nothing back. He
did. He had to pay like $2 or $3 million back.
I don't think so because it was in the fine print. Because when people got complaining about paying up every week, he said, read the fine print. He duped those people.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Politics doesn't keep people honest, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Regardless if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Because if I was the current Attorney General, I would be he'd be meeting me in court for this mess. But see, there's still a wall, and I wouldn't even call it respect, that's built up between these political parties.
Or entitlement. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're not.
I used to think about getting involved in politics in New York City and running for city council, but I realized watching other politicians evolve through their career that eventually they had to give in so many areas that the politician they became is not the politician who I elected.
Mm-hmm.
And you lose a little bit of your soul along the way, I think.
Yeah. So, Trump knows that the current AG isn't going to waste his time on coming after him about having the fine print so fine that people didn't understand that they could hit their account anytime they want to hit it. So he knows which cases they're going to get him on and which cases they're not. So that's a sad thing. So I think you're going to see a lot happening with what DOJ does during the Biden administration. I think we're going to be surprised that things that have been brushed under the rug are going to be taken care of. Simple as that. Now, I wish they would open up some of these cases back up, like Sarah Bland and Eric Gardner. I wish they would go after these guys on civil rights violations.
See, I'm looking for it. Oh, fuss and bother. Let's see here. I'm trying to find the article that I read about this, where he had to pay back millions of dollars, but I'll find it and I'll send it to you separately.
He ain't paying back nothing. Shit. I don't think he paid back the people for that school he had, Trump University. I mean, he's a sneaky one. He's a sneaky one. So like I said, tonight they're protesting in Brooklyn Center, because you got Delonte's case coming up. You have that. So the protests are going to continue. You still going to have to march in the street for justice. It doesn't change a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Fight. We still got to fight. I mean, this was a great victory, but we still got to fight.
The protests did accomplish something. And I think if not for that summer of unrest, if not for millions of people, not only in this country, but globally,
mm-hmm.
calling out this country on its bullshit, I think the odds would have been more in favor of Chauvin getting off or only being called out for second degree and not second and third degree.
Well, the thing is, I don't think it was a protest so much that the jurors were thinking of what they were thinking about. I just think that the facts were there. I mean, the prosecution laid out a good case. I mean,
I can't imagine that it would have been hard because the defense attorney was so weak, and his defense was utter BS.
How do you defend someone and that they killed someone? The video is there. He had to go after character assassination in order to hopefully get a victory. I mean, that's what he had to do. I mean, you can't. That's hard to do. I mean, he knew he had a tough case, but he was a union's lawyer. That's who was going to take the case, and he had to figure out a way to do it. He was trying to plant that seed of doubt in one of the jurors' mind. And I really thought, listening to about two ladies this morning, they talked about on the jury. I really thought it was going to come back a hung jury when that.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
Yeah, when I got my alert today, and they said the verdict had already came down, it had already been decided. I said, "What? This is pretty quick." And a lot of times when the jury comes back that quickly, it's on the defense side.
Yeah, I thought that there would be at least one person on that jury who.
I did too. I mean, because they had one lady who said you should do everything the police tell you to do. I said, "Oh Lord, here she is. She's gonna be that one that's gonna hold out." But see, this is the thing. They went into deliberations last night, and they did deliberations for a while last night. And I think when they got started this morning, I think they already knew what the verdict was this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because generally when you go in as a jury, when the jury is retired, you go in, first thing you do, you pick a foreman, and the next thing the foreman does, takes a vote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then they could have found him guilty last night. Guilty. Period. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had to go back and decide on each charge whether or not he was guilty.
Yeah.
And I think they did a lot of work last night because they worked late. They said they worked like for 6 hours yesterday. Then they came back again today. So I'm thinking that when they went to bed last night, they were pretty comfortable with a guilty verdict. But now, do we charge it? Do we find him guilty on all charges?
Yeah. The prosecutor preemptively poked holes in every argument the defense had, and yet the defense still went ahead and attempted to make that argument. It was almost as if they were taking a Trump-esque approach, and if you repeat a lie enough, that people will believe it. And I'm glad that it didn't work.
It's the police union. I mean, what do you expect? If you notice in every city, and I know even here where I live at, there aren't many blacks that participate in the police union. A lot of times they have their own organizations for that to cover black officers, okay? Because the majority of the union population is white and Republican. And that's where they lean. And the black cops, majority of them don't lean that way.
But the unfortunate thing, and it just seems like it's become synonymous, but it doesn't need to be. Just because you're white or Republican doesn't necessarily, it should not equate to your inability, pathological inability, to recognize right from wrong. And you would think that they would be more interested in protecting the integrity of their organization by calling out bad actors than blindly defending everybody they know is wrong.
But we are still looked at as second-class citizens, okay? I mean, now look, like I said last week, what has the Biden administration done for blacks so far with these what you call them, orders that he's done, executive orders? I mean, if you look back, you can go back to the end of slavery. We've always been considered second-class citizens. They don't give a crap about us. Many of them, and I'm not saying all whites are bad, but it's a lot of them out there that hide behind that badge, that uses that badge to beat us down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad Biden is being optimistic about things going to change in the future. I'm just not there. I'm just sorry, I'm just not there yet. It's going to take me a while to get there. I can
understand why you're not there. I mean, your lifetime experience and the things that you've witnessed, but I have to hope that, and look, I mean, you've seen me on various shows where I am without hope, or maybe I just have that little Fantasia granule spark of hope left in me. But by nature, I'm a hopeful individual. And that's why the last 4 years were so difficult, because that administration and all the corruption and all the lies and the hate that was nurtured by that administration on a daily basis, hourly basis, just sucked the soul out of me for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And now that we've sort of crawled out from under that steaming pile of bullshit, we're back to the normal pile of bullshit, and I have to hope, and pardon my dog, that's why I picked her up, because I thought she'd start barking if I didn't. And in order to function, I have to believe that we are capable of change as a nation, and that at some point our numbers, the numbers of reasonable-minded, humane individuals, will outnumber those who clearly seem to have some kind of genetic mutation that has filled them with so much hate,
I guess,
based on such an obscure, silly thing as melanin.
Yeah, but I guess my generation, my age group and up, we just, like you said, we just seen so much. It's just hard for us to wrap our arms around and sing Kumbaya tonight, okay?
No. Don't get me wrong. Ow. Boy, they're not kidding when they say these shots hurt. I'm not saying I'm not saying kumbaya. I'm not
Mhm.
saying turn the other cheek, because we've talked about the weapons and whatnot I have in my arsenal here for the day when shit hits the fan.
Mhm.
But right now, there are more of us than there are of them. Unfortunately, just like in slave times, it seems like they still have the power. And
Mhm.
as if we can continue growing our numbers, not just in terms of our representation in the overall population, but our representation in government, our representation in municipalities, in police force, in pharmaceutical industry, in the medical industry, if we can get, uh, and I don't want to say the word allies, because I'd like to get to the point where that's not necessary. When we get to the Gene Roddenberry-esque future, where melanin and the color of your eyes isn't some arbitrary thing that dictates how much I should hate you. Um, I have to believe that we can get there, but
Well,
we have to continue to fight. We have to continue to educate. We
and,
have to
and,
do
and
these programs.
and you got to do that. You got to do that because one of the things I noticed tonight, which was kind of disappointing, I think somebody commented on one of the news shows I was looking at tonight, watching tonight. I think Minneapolis maybe what 13, 14% African American.
With maybe 4 police officers that are of color,
Yeah,
per,
but
per
you
Derek
yeah,
last comment.
but you look at the protesters; they were majority white. You know, if we're going to pick this up as an opportunity to learn from it, we got to be out there in the field too. I wish I was in Minneapolis. I'll be out there tonight with these guys protesting. Okay, in Brooklyn Center. You know, if we want it, we got to go out and get it. Okay, we can't depend on other people to do it for us. And so many times we get we get caught in numbers. When we were doing the demonstrations during the time that when George Floyd got killed, and everybody was doing their protest, I had someone that got mad at me because I'm a judge and I was at one of the protests. I got right into the mix and I enjoyed myself. Okay, like I told them, I said, yeah, I know I shouldn't be here. Okay, so somebody turned me in, I'll talk my way out and keep my seat. Okay, but the thing is, I felt it was a need for me to be out there.
Please, if elected officials can storm the castle and get away with it,
You know,
you can participate in
yeah,
a
but
peaceful march.
I'm supposed to be nonpartisan as a
You
judge.
left your matches at home. That's all I
Yeah,
can ask for.
yeah, but I'm supposed to be nonpartisan. But they were really upset. You can't. Yes, I can do it. Okay, I did it. Okay.
Mhm.
Now if somebody go call the attorney general and say, hey, it was call the appellate, the chief judge of the appellate court and say, look, Reggie was out here doing this. He shouldn't have been doing it. You know what? Most of it gonna do? They're gonna reprimand me and say, don't do it again. Okay. You know, but
Again,
you got to be able to step out there and join the fight at times.
Mhm.
Okay, you just can't sit back and
Well,
expect
that's
people to do your work. You know.
well true, but like you said, they represent 13% of the community there, so it's no surprise they were outnumbered by
But you still got to be
their white allies.
still you got to be
Yeah.
13% out there. Okay, and
Well,
he wasn't even 13% out there tonight. You know,
well,
we
that's
got and other people fight our battles, and we shouldn't do that. We need to be out there fighting our battles.
100%.
We shouldn't have no more fear. Okay, we should be fearless and
Well, the
go.
problem with that, we've talked about that in the past, is that
Mhm.
families living check to check live in a perpetual state of fear, especially if you're talking about a single parent household or single income household. Then you add on to that COVID and the loss of jobs, the loss of employment, the loss of benefits. Uh, there's fearless, and then if it's just you, and then there's the degree. How do you be fearless and responsible when you also still have a family to
Mhm.
take care of, and where getting caught out there, and God knows what the police would do with you, and then not being able to take care of your family, that's a huge gamble. And I understand why some people can be hesitant, and that's why we've said repeatedly that there are multiple ways to join the fight. But that's one of the things I love about New York, is that every time I see a protest, if it's down Third Avenue, Midtown, downtown, Brooklyn, Queens, wherever, it is diverse. You have
Mhm.
every group and ethnicity out there fighting the good fight. And I respect that. And I think that we need that, because when it's only our voices, we're not heard. So, and at the end of the day, we're all Americans, right? We want to stop being considered other and outside. So I welcome our allies joining us there. Now, we should be the most prominent voices when we're talking about our case, just like in the Asian community with the crap they're going through right now. You know, their voices should be the one that are front and center talking about their needs. But we need to support each other. And that's my feeling on that.
Yeah.
We have 1 minute left. Tony, do you want to chime in and make a comment how you felt about the verdict?
Happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way I'm feeling. But you know, I have to agree with Reggie. I think it's not over.
No, it's not.
It's definitely not over. I also have to agree that there has to be hope. You know, that someday all of this will become a mere memory, that we can look back and say, you know, remember when we didn't have, you know, specialized training for police officers. Remember when Black men's lives were lost, you know, in mass numbers. I'm hoping that we can get to that remember when moment.
And children.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, I think that this could be the beginning of something that's going to be even more great, because like you mentioned, you've got officers who are part of this particular case, the Chauvin case, that are still remaining to be put to the test of justice as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still not over, and you still have other cases that have come in after the George Floyd murder that need to be tried. Will those come back in the same manner that we saw today? We don't know. And will it then incite more violence? Because, you know, it shouldn't be that people would think, oh, we got a one and done, you know, that one hit wonder.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people to think that, but I do want people to have hope that, you know, things will turn around, because this is a case that caught vast media all over the world. And the world,
of course, the media loves a good snuff film. Of course it did.
So the world is watching. Unfortunately, the United States are in front of the lens, and now we have to show, you know, the rest of the world that not only are we are supposed to be a free nation, but a free nation that is of fairness and is of justice. So I'm hoping that this is not one of those one and dones.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
I want to say one more thing. Okay, we had another police shooting today in Columbus, Ohio. 15-year-old girl. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say this shit gonna continue. Okay, and that's why I have a lack of hope. Okay.
And all I mean, but you know what, Reggie, it's not far-fetched to say that, you know, a lot of people feel the same way, or a lot of people understand that feeling you have, because we have to look at history, and history has shown us that it has not been a fair justice system for people of color for as long as we've known there to be a justice system. So for you to feel that way, I mean, it's understandable. It's understandable. But for those who do not have that level of hope, then there are other people that can hopefully hope for you, you know, and start to get involved and make those changes. This is about our law. This is about our legal system, and those legal systems are put in place by people that we have in office, you know. So with that, I'm still hopeful that we still, although have a long way to go, that there still might be some turnaround. Will we see it in our lifetime? I don't know. Probably not. But it is my hope that there is some change for, you know, my granddaughter who is coming along, because it's not just Black boys and Black men who are being murdered by police officers. There are Black girls. And with you mentioning just now, a young girl who lost her life, it's possible. It's possible. So, you know, I'm just, you know, I'm still hopeful that things can turn around. Will it be tough to do that? Absolutely, because we've had hundreds of years of this. And anything worth trying to turn around is not going to happen easy. Anything that is seen that, you know, blacks are the negative, it's not going to be easy. We have never been looked at as equal. I mean, that's all I can say. All right. Anything else, Mr. Reggie?
Well, I'm gonna bring my list of recent killings. There's another killing that took place in Knoxville, Tennessee, 2 weeks ago. Of a teenager, you know, so it's just crazy out here. So that's why I say I feel the way I feel.
Yeah, and like I said, I totally understand it. I agree with why you feel that way, because even after today's verdict, tomorrow is going to be another one. Unfortunately, that's just the way this is set up. So, you know, all we can do is continue to fight for fairness and for a fair justice system, and to change some of these laws. You know, that is our job right now.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, without hope, we can't. Without hope, we aren't taking the steps necessary to fight and change the system. Without hope, we're throwing up our hands basically and saying, "I give up," and I'm not ready to do that. And I know you aren't either.
I'm not ready to give up. I'm at the same time being realistic. You know, I'm using history as my my guide. Okay.
Well, look, our forefathers didn't give up either. And we got the change we wanted. It just took a long time.
And then again, our forefathers were white.
I'm talking about like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Du Bois. I'm talking about, you know, our kinfolk in the fight.
Right.
You know? Right. They didn't give up. I mean, and things were considerably worse for them.
Yeah.
So if they can keep fighting, we can keep fighting.
Yeah.
And we have more access and tools at our disposal than they did.
Yeah.
So we just have to have as much spirit as they did to keep the fight going.
You're right. You're right. Well, with that being said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Real World News TV with Reggie Kearney and Chara Ann Tappin. Historic day. So let's not go crazy out there. Just go, you know, get involved in your local and city government. You know, get involved in your community. That's how we're going to make this change. So I'm urging you to do that. You don't have to go out here and kick up dirt and all that other stuff. You know, it's just not necessary. It's not necessary. We need to get in there and hurt them where it hurts most.
Fight
you know,
hard.
Exactly. So,
Jesus.
Oh Lord, I knew it.
I'm gonna find a little mini extinguisher and bring it with me to our shows.
Oh,
as a matter of fact, we should design a Real World News cup with our logo and a matchstick.
Yeah. Let me work on that.
One with a matchstick. Make one with a matchstick for Reggie and one with a fire extinguisher for me.
Right.
And you'll get the Malomars and marshmallows.
All right. So thanks again for tuning in to Real World News TV with Reggie Kearney and Chara Ann Tappin. I'm hoping that you will come on back next week, as they do this every Tuesday. The show always begins at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 7 Central, and 7:30 Central and 8:30 on the East Coast. Make sure that you follow them right here on Facebook under Real World News TV, so you can get notifications of the shows. Tomorrow night. Oh boy. Tomorrow night on Hot Topics Talk Radio, we're actually revisiting and revamping a topic that we did 3 years ago that seemed to have rustled some feathers and also lent to some truth on the side of men and women. But 3 years ago, we did the topic, are men afraid of commitment? So this time we're asking the question, are you running away from commitment? because I had a chance to look at some recent numbers on the statistics of marriage and commitment and all that good stuff. Oh boy, it's just getting worse and worse. I don't even have hope for finding a husband.
You got to have Truth Brothers on that show, because I'm sure they're going to have a couple of things to say about that based on prior conversations.
Right. So tomorrow night we are revisiting the commitment topic. Are you running away from commitment? The show starts tomorrow night with me and Yvonne Baker at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 8 Central, and 10 o'clock on the East Coast. Make sure that you come right back here to Facebook under Hot Topics Talk Radio. Until next week, for Real World News TV, we bid you a wonderful rest of your night and a fantastic rest of your week. Hope you're going to be tuning in to more of Hot Topic Talk Radio Network shows. All right, you guys, have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Owie.
I know, take care of it. You got to do those exercises.
Well, I can't do that on the show as soon as I hang up.
Let your dog lick it one time. You'll be all right.
Oh my God. Well, wasn't she too precious? I didn't want her to bark. That's why I picked her up.
All right, you guys.
Later, ladies.
Have a good night, everybody.
You too. Get some sleep.